Hello class, this video is for Intermediate Painting Arts 3321, and I'm going to cover a couple of things. First off the bat, I want to let you know that I'm going to be making an amendment to our syllabus. If you go to the syllabus, you will see a workload list, okay? There it is right there. I printed out a version. This covers the exercises and the painting assignments, okay? And there's 7 painting assignments. Right now we are on painting assignment number 5, the landscape painting. That was the last video I sent out, the last assignment I gave you. And also the 5th and final exercise, which is in conjunction with that painting. Remember, it's the landscape painting. Paint it from observation, match color that you see. And then the exercise is to make a synopsis of your painting. Make a painting of your painting. When you finish the larger painting, make a small, roughly 5x8 synopsis of your painting. A small study of the painting you've done. That's number 5. Okay. The next on the list is number 6, head and face, portraiture. We're cutting that out. Okay, this is the 29th or the 30th. Actually, I think this is March 30th when I'm filming this, taping this, recording this. Yeah, so we have the month of April, and by the time we get to the end of April, we're dealing with study days and dead days, and then we break into May and it's finals week, etc. I think time has caught up with us. That freeze put us behind. Spring break always breaks the momentum of spring semester. I'm not a fan of spring break. As a teacher, as an educator, I think spring break gets in the way. Frankly, I'd rather they tack those days on to Easter and let's just call it done. But nobody asked me. So anyway, we're out of time and I'm going to eliminate painting number 6. That brings us to painting number 7, which we do have time for. Masterwork interpretation. Oh, goody, Mr. Lyles. That sounds like fun. Tell us all about it. Good. I'm glad you think that, and I'm about to do that right now. Masterwork interpretation is it's about a 3-step process, okay? And I'm going to go through it with you. First thing you need to do is to choose a painting from history. This is my example, okay? Let me tape this down here. This painting is called Rest on the Flight to Egypt. It is by Michelangelo Caravaggio. And I wrote down painted in 1595. So almost the 1600s. That's the 16th century, 1595. That's when that was painted. And what I'm doing here is I'm referencing this painting for the other steps in the process. You need to go find a figurative painting, has to have human figures in it, minimum 2 human figures in the painting. The painting that you reference, that you're going to reference, has to have been executed, painted, finished before 1864, okay? That's our cutoff. Anything figurative, any figurative painting made before 1864, you can use. After 1864, no good, okay? Not that it's no good, just I'm not going to use it for this assignment. Why is 1864 the cutoff? I'll tell you why. 1864, in Europe anyway, on the Western calendar, the Gregorian calendar, 1864 is when modernism starts. European modernism, Euro-American modernism, in the Euro-American Western painting tradition is arguably begun in 1864 with, guess who? The French Impressionists, okay? Now, some people may want to quibble about that, but that's what I think. That's what I was taught. That's what I think is true. So that's our cutoff date. You can choose a painting from Europe, European history. You can choose a painting from American history. You can choose a painting from Mexican history. You can choose a painting from an Asian culture, a Middle Eastern culture. Okay, you got the globe to work with, but it has to be figurative, and it has to be at least two people. Okay, at least two figures, and it has to have been painted before 1864. Now, having chosen a history piece, having chosen a painting from history, and this is just an example. I've had students who are making a mistake where they take my examples and try to reproduce them. No, do your own work, okay? My videos and my demo paintings, these are all just examples. Okay, so I've taken this painting. The next step is I'm going to get people I know to pose for me in these positions. Okay, there's 3 people, actually 4 people in this composition. And here's what's going on. The flight, the rest on the flight to Egypt. What's happening is the Holy Family, right? There's Joseph, there's Mary with baby Jesus. They're running away from Palestine, Judea, as it was called at the time, going to Egypt because King Herod is looking for baby Jesus to kill him, okay? And Joseph had a dream where an angel said, go to Egypt. So that's what they're doing. And on the way to Egypt, they take a break. And here, this is not actually in the biblical text, but this was an imagined happening based on the biblical text. This is actually, the actual painting done by Caravaggio is an early work in his career. It's one of his early paintings. I think it's a rather interesting painting. It's a little atypical from some of his other compositions of this period. Most of them were just, you know, singular male figures. Every now and then he had one with multiple male figures. This one, it's a little more involved. It's a little more compositionally interesting. You have the angel here who's playing a violin, and Joseph's holding up the music so the angel can play a lullaby, and the baby is resting, and so is Mother Mary. You know, they're taking a nap, and they're getting serenaded while they rest. So that's the subject matter of the painting. You can see the angel is, let's talk about composition. The angel's right here in the center, just actually left of center, and there is an interesting space created between the angel and Joseph. Joseph is sitting down, holding this sheet music. You know, the angel's basically looks like a youth, you know, maybe like a 12-year-old boy or something, 13-year-old boy. All right, and then to the right of the angel, there's another little niche space, and it's Mother Mary cradling the baby Jesus. And then there's this landscape, right? And in the landscape, we see foreground, middle ground, background. It's actually quite a deep landscape. Behind Joseph, there's a donkey. You can barely make him out. You see the little eye right there, and there's a face right there. Okay, and then he's seated on their luggage, some sort of big pack and a water bottle or wine bottle. So there's some still life elements. There's a landscape element. There's this figure group that's occupying the foreground and the middle foreground, and then we get into this deep punctuated space, this deep punctuated landscape. You see mountains in the background and a skyscape. I think compositionally it's a very interesting piece, okay? So what I've done then, my next step in this process, is I had family members pose for me, and I've transposed the situation so that my figure group is occurring in our living room, right? And then one of my paintings is in the background, and there's all the landscape reference, okay? And I had my youngest daughter posing in the position of the angel. She's about the same size, relatively speaking, about the same age, a little younger. One of my other daughters, instead of holding sheet music, is holding up a tablet, right? And basically a very similar kind of relationship in reference to how these people are interacting. Very similar setup. And then in the background, I've got Mrs. Wiles, and she's not holding a baby, she's holding our dog. Okay, let's look at there. Okay, so I don't know if you can see it on camera or not. Anyway, I had them pose for me and I took a snapshot. I also took a reference image of the space, okay, so that I could have a reference for that as well. All right, so I've got a reference image of the people. I wanted to use all 3 figures, 4 figures really. I turned a baby Jesus into a dog. Not really, it's just, that's our dog. And we didn't have a baby. So anyway, they're in that position. They're in the same, relatively same pose, similar poses, I guess you could say. And then an image of the space. So these are my references. That's what your next step is. Get somebody to pose for you in the position of the figures in the painting. Okay, you have to do at least 2 figures. Reference your models, reference the space that you want the models to be in. Okay, I wanted to use our living room, all right, with my painting behind the couch. That's deliberate, all right? If you wanted to put these people in a different space, then go document the space you want them to be in. Say I wanted them to be in Pizza Hut, okay? Then I'd go to Pizza Hut and take some snapshots of one of the booths, all right, or something like that. So you can transpose it. You can do that. Your models don't necessarily have to be occurring in the space that they're in your reference photo, but you need to make a reference photo of the space that you want to use. It's advisable to have your models in the space that you want to put in the painting, but you still must get, I'm requiring it, at least 1 image of the space. So 1 image that has your models in the poses from the painting, and 1 image that is of the space that you're going to use for the painting. Okay? The next step, I told you it was a multi-step process. The next step, drawing. Bring it together in a drawing, okay? Now, your art majors, your studio majors, you're taking intermediate level painting course. You should have a sketchbook with you. You should have a sketchbook with you all the time. Drawing should be like breathing for you. You're a studio arts major, you should be drawing all the time. You should be drawing in your sleep. And yes, it is possible. I've done it. Okay? Draw all the time. Why are you sleeping with your sketchbook? Professor Lyle said I had to. Okay, that's what you need. You need to be drawing all the time. For this assignment, what you're going to do is take your references, right? Your photo references, print them out, and make a working drawing. Now, I've made a 2-page spread, and I'm working out the composition. All right, I'm playing around with my ideas. I'm deciding how the darks and lights are going to get patterned. I'm playing around with the relationship between the figures. I'm studying the figures. All right, what position do I want them to be in? How big do I want to make her relative to her? You know, am I going to include the lamp or not? I think I will. Okay, all those decisions can begin to be made or explored at the very least at the drawing stage. You don't have to use a 2-page spread. At least 1 page in your sketchbook. 9x12 sketchbook is standard. Make a drawing. Do yourself a favor. Investigate your images. Work out your compositional ideas. Make a drawing. I like to draw with a ballpoint pen in my sketchbook. Okay? It's an old habit of mine. I can see the image more clearly that way. Ballpoint pen is hardly a permanent medium. Certainly you can't erase it, but it works for me, so that's what I do, okay? If you want to try that out, feel free. Pencil drawing is fine, okay? I don't recommend charcoal or any sort of soft dry medium because that tends to smudge, but graphite is fine, ink is fine, ink and brush is good, ballpoint pen is usable, okay? So your medium of choice, draw your composition. Draw it out. Have a working drawing. Is this a finished drawing? No, it's not. It's not a finished drawing. This is a working drawing. I'm working out my ideas. the final phase. 16 by 24. Let me get all this out of the way. 16 by 24 painting. Okay? And what I've done here, this is pretty early in the process. What I've got here is a 16 by 24. I went in with a burnt sienna wash, right? I just gave it a coat of burnt sienna. And then so I'm going back to some of our previous techniques with the earth tones. I'm including earth tones. And then I've come back with burnt umber and ultramarine blue, mostly burnt umber, and some, when I need a black, I'll go ahead and make a black. Make your black, okay? Don't trust the tube, make the black. Anyway, with the burnt umber line, I've drawn out, I've sketched out the position of my figures in space, and I've then started to develop the figures. For the faces, I've been using burnt sienna with white. Remember, burnt sienna, when you tint it, when you make a tint out of it, still retains a lot of its luster. I experimented with using a raw sienna, because raw sienna with a tint of raw sienna with white, sometimes with just a touch of red, makes real good flesh tones for lighter complected people. I wasn't really pleased with the colors in this instance, so I went with burnt sienna. The girls are fairly light complected. They're a little darker than their dad. Their mother has a nice even tone tan. So here I'm using more burnt sienna and actually yellow ochre with burnt sienna, right? And tinging it with red a little bit. All right, so that's the color. I'm incorporating earth tones. As the painting moves forward, I wanted a strong contrast from the background to what was happening on the figures. So I went with the cerulean blue, which is actually what's happening with the photograph. Look at her t-shirt. See? It's cerulean blue. And I like that. So I went with that. And then the background, which is a painting of mine of Indian paintbrush wildflowers. I thought that would be an interesting way to reference the landscape that is in the Caravaggio painting, right? See? It's a fairly shallow space on the left side of the composition and in the lower right. You get that deep punctuated space in the upper right-hand corner with the skyscape. But I've translated that into just the floral pattern that I'm taking from my painting. And I'm exaggerating the color, all right? Those flowers are actually more of a pink, and I'm making them much redder. I think that is an interesting thing to do in terms of color. You know, one, you have a contrasting color between red and green, and then you also have the contrast of these bright colors against the more earth tone colors happening down here with the dog and on the couch. And then on all of that is, you know, the bright blue t-shirt that the smaller girl's wearing, the younger daughter's wearing, forms an axis, right? It's the fulcrum of the painting, which is, again, relates to the composition that Caravaggio did. The angel functions as the axis for both sides of the painting, right? And it makes it for a very interesting dynamic composition. And I've actually changed it so that it functions a little differently. I don't have the deep space, so, you know, this model here occurs in roughly the same space as this model here. But what I did do was activate that upper edge in such a way so that everything's moving forward. Anyway, it's an interesting study. It's an interesting way to translate the image. Now that's what your final painting's going to be. Your final painting is your interpretation based on the masterwork. Okay? So let's go over the steps one more time so that you're clear about what is necessary to do. And I'm going to send you this video. This is Tuesday, You'll probably get this video tomorrow is when I'll send it out. And I'll write out in the email some of what I'm talking about, and also the syllabus amendment. We're not doing the portrait painting. Sorry, if you were looking forward to that. Sorry, we just don't have time for it. Okay, so choose your masterwork, right? Before 1864, minimum 2 figures. Make some photo references. Photo referential figuration. That's what I call this. What does that mean? You have a photo of models set up the way you know, set up in reference to, whoops, there we go. Set up in reference to the masterwork. So this is your master reference. This is, you know, this is what your go-to image for your composition. And then get your models, family members, friends, people you just met, I don't know. Get them to sit for you or stand for you in the positions relative to the masterwork that you chose. Okay, make your documentation. Document your models. If you need to document them individually, do that. I actually made quite a few documents, but this was the one that I think did the job most, so that's the one I'm showing you. The dog was not very cooperative, so I did several of her, and anyway. And then document the space. So document your models in the positions that your figures are in the masterwork. Minimum 2, okay? Minimum 2. Oh, there's 5 people in the masterwork I want to work from, Mr. Lyle. Do I have to do all 5? No, minimum 2, okay? They need to be relating to each other. I've got 3 right there. Can you see it? Yeah, you can. I've got 3 right there, and I thought that was, actually it's 4. Yeah, counting the baby, it's 4. I thought that was pretty good. So my family was real cooperative, so we went with that. Document your models, document your space. Document, document, document. Do yourself a big fat favor. Print them out. That way you can draw on them, you can reference them, they're right there in front of you. Don't try to do this painting from that tiny little screen on your cell phone. Take a picture, go print it out in the computer lab, just get you some printouts. Choose the images you actually want to reference out of all the images you take. Minimum 2, okay? 1 with the models, 1 of the space, all right? Document all of your references. Print them out, all right? That's the best way to do this. From there, the next step is your drawing. Get your sketchbook out, develop a working composition, a working drawing. Get to know. When I say get to know, that's what drawing is. It's you're studying what the figures are doing. Okay, you're giving yourself that muscle memory, that mental image. Don't just trust the photograph alone. Okay, draw. You're an iconographer. You make pictures. Draw. You want to get to know something? Draw. You're a painting student. You want to understand something? Draw. Okay, drawing is the artist's primary way, or one of the primary ways an artist can interact with the world. So draw. Get a working drawing going. Make some decisions about your composition. Get to know your models, you know, for the image. Get that working. The last step, the final step, paint time. Make a painting, okay? Make those decisions. Figure out what you want to do, how you want to do it, and go. Make your painting. Your choice of color scheme, we've covered several different approaches to color schemes. We've used the earth tones. We've used limited palettes, complementary color, analogous color groups. The landscape painting, you're working from direct observation, okay? Choose your color scheme. Do you want to use a limited palette? Do you want to try to work referentially in terms of matching the color that's there? Are you going to accent color? Are you going to do an earth tone underpainting? You want to do a grayscale underpainting? How are you going to handle this? Okay, that's an artistic choice at this point. Okay, so when you turn this project in, I'll have a due date for you. Don't worry about that. Okay, I'll put a due date in the email. When you turn this project in, when you turn this assignment in, here's what I want to see. I want you to send me a JPEG of the masterwork that you've chosen to work with. I want you to send me 2 JPEGs of your photo references. One with the models, one with the space. I want you to send me a JPEG of your working drawing. You understand? Your working drawing, a developing working drawing. Send that to me. And last but not least, send me a JPEG of your completed painting. This is about, I don't know, it's about a third of the way through, I'd say. You know, maybe a little more than that. Less than half. When your painting's done, send me a JPEG of your painting. So let's go through that one more time. Start out, master reference, send me a JPEG of that. Your photo references, one of your models, one of the space. Send me that, JPEG. Your working drawing, where you're getting to know the models, figuring out the composition. Doesn't have to be a 2-page spread, it can be 1 page. JPEG of that. And your final completed painting. The final painting, your final assignment of the semester. Make it a good JPEG. Don't send me a crappy JPEG. Make it a good one, okay? Get some nice lighting going on. Set it up on an easel. You know, don't send me a picture of the thing sitting in your lap. Put it up right. Hang it on the wall. Something, okay? Send it to me as a good image that I can really read what it is you're doing, okay? That is the final assignment. Now, let me talk about catching up. Some of you have not, I've already assigned the 5th painting, and some of you still haven't sent me the 3rd painting yet, okay? Okay, the deadlines I've been giving you, that's to keep us moving, okay? To keep us on track and keep us moving. If you've missed a deadline, still submit the work, okay? Don't just go MIA, missing in action. Oh, it's late, he won't accept it. No, do the work and send it to me, okay? Finish the assignment and send it to me. If you're late, get caught up, all right? Get caught up. Do a good job and send it to me. So if you haven't sent me number 3, get it to me. If you haven't sent me number 4, get it to me. If you've been sending me exercises but haven't sent me painting assignments, send me painting assignments. If you've sent me painting assignments but haven't sent me exercises, send me exercises. Get caught up. Go back and check the emails I've sent out to the class. If you have questions, email me, ask me your questions. I'm getting to your emails just as soon as I can. I got a little behind too, especially with spring break. That's one of the reasons I don't like spring break. It always throws me off as well. Be patient with me. I'm working to be patient with you. Let's work with each other. Let's all get caught up. All right? We're going to finish the semester strong. So don't be intimidated by a missed deadline. Send me the work. Okay? Send me the work. Let's get caught up. What else can I tell you? Well, I think that's about it. I'll send you some images, some reference images. Maybe I'll kick out another video, before, you know, to kind of a update of where we're at on various things between now and the end of the semester. Also, just stay in touch. But we're in the home stretch now. Spring break is over. End of April, we'll be getting into dead days. Beginning of May, we're getting into finals week. So this is home stretch. All right, let's work hard. All right, you don't need to go out. You don't need to see your friends. You know, your boyfriend and girlfriend, they can wait. This is school. Let's work hard and get caught up. Okay, let's finish strong, and then we'll all have a good summer. All right. I think that's it. So stay tuned, stay in touch, stay focused, stay safe, and you'll be hearing from me, and I hope to be hearing from you. That's it. Goodbye. Oh, shit.